Okay, Paul.
Okay, good evening, everyone. Amitofo. Welcome to our Sutra lecture. We will begin with the Dharma Request, which you should see in your chat box. It's a chance for us to invite the presence of the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. And I just want to make sure that all the technology works here. We're live? Yes, okay, good. Oh, sorry, 1 second. I seem to be on the wrong YouTube. Are we live?
Yes, Dharma Master.
Okay. I need to figure this out later. Okay, that's okay. Okay, so if everyone can please put your palms together, we can respectfully invite the presence of the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. So Paul, anytime you're ready.
Okay, Dharma Master. Gong Qing Da De Seng Ping Wei Ci Fa Hui Ji Qie Zhong Sheng Qing Zhuan Miao Fa Lun Jiao Dao Wo Men如何了生脱死离苦得乐速证无生 Will the Sangha with great virtue out of compassion for the sake of this assembly and all living beings, please turn the wonderful Dharma will to teach us how to live suffering and attain bliss and end birth and death and quickly realize non-birth.
Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa.
Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa.
Homage to the blessed, noble, and perfectly enlightened one.
Homage to the blessed, noble, and perfect enlightened one.
Namo Sadando Sujedoye Alahadi Samya Sambuddhoje.
Namo Satando Suchedoye Alahati Samyao Sambuddhoje.
无上甚深微妙法，百千万劫难遭遇。我今见闻得受持，愿解如来真实义。Supreme and wondrous Dharma, subtle and profound, rarely is encountered, even in billions of eons. But now we see and hear it and accept it reverently. May we truly understand the Buddha's actual meaning. All Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, Venerable Master, Dharma Master, and all good and wise friends online, I'm Mitofo. Welcome to our evening lecture on the Infinite Life Sutra. To begin, we will recite Amitabha Buddha's name to invite his, you could say, presence in our hearts, or his light to shine on us, allowing us to melt away our afflictions and worries. That way we can enter the sutra with a pure heart. 好，我们现在可以来先念佛，佛的光明照出我们的身心，让我们的心清净，来研究无量寿经。好，南 爱，南无阿弥陀佛，爱，南无阿弥陀佛，爱，南无阿弥陀佛，爱，南无阿弥陀佛，爱，南无阿弥陀佛，爱，南无阿弥陀佛，爱，南无阿弥陀佛，爱，南无阿弥陀佛，爱，南无阿弥陀佛，阿弥陀佛，阿弥陀佛，阿弥陀佛，阿弥陀佛，阿弥陀佛，阿弥陀佛，阿弥陀佛，阿弥陀佛，阿弥陀佛，阿弥陀佛，阿弥陀佛，阿弥陀佛，阿弥陀佛，阿弥陀佛。
好，诸佛菩萨、仙公上人，以及在座的法师，还有线上的朋友，大家阿弥陀佛。
All Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, Venerable Master, Dharma Master, and all good and wise friends online, Amitofo.
今天是6月10号，6月10号，我们在伯克利这边，我们继续来研究佛说无量寿经，这个经我们是非常重要的，我们大家一起来研究。所以今天晚上我们会在52页的中文，还有53页的英文的上面的第二行，52页的第2行开始。
So we will, well, today is June 10th, 2021, and we're investigating the Sutra of the teachings, the Buddha's teachings on infinite life. We're on page 52 and 53. You can find it in the PDF online. And we'll begin on the second line on page 52.
好，我们大家一起念，然后从第见此愿语一直到就是念3行，到菩萨无量德恨，这个我们念这个3行。
So we'll begin with the 见此愿语, which is the second line on page 52, and read 3 lines.
好
Okay.
大家一起念。
见此愿语，一向专制，庄严妙土，所修佛国，开阔广大，超胜度妙，建立常然，无衰无变，以不可思议兆载， 永劫机直菩萨无量德恨。
好，英文。
So please turn to page 53. Second line. He then devoted himself to create and adorn his wondrous Buddha land. This land he made was vast and expansive, unsurpassed and unique in its splendor. He built it to last forever and to never decay or change. For inconceivable and countless kalpas, he cultivated the immeasurable virtuous practices of a bodhisattva.
好，这个就是见此谚语啊，就是说这个法藏比丘呢，他发心来建这个愿啊，此愿就是48大愿然后仪就是已经他建立这个48大愿，然后他一心一意，一向专制，就是说一心一意来专心来修行这个庄严妙土，这个庄严妙土，这个就是西方极乐世界的一个国度了，这个所以说他要求呢，他自己所修的佛国呢是要非常开阔广大的，这个就是他的一个他所发的这个愿。
哦，你的开了吗？
你开了，对没有
？Is 经佛sure you can't hear, or can I not hear me? 什么是他们声音听不到？哎 ，Maybe somebody can let us know if there's something wrong with the sound. Please type in the chat box. If not, we'll continue and then let us know. Is Jing For sure quiet, or am I too low? You can let us know. So I'll continue here. So Amitabha Buddha in this stage is actually a bhikshu named Dharma Treasury, and he has just made 48 vows. These great vows where he was going to create a Pure Land, the Western Pure Land. And so here he begins to focus single-mindedly, wholeheartedly to adorn his Pure Land. And in his vows, he said this land is going to be vast and expansive, very broad and majestic. And so this was his vows.
而且呢，他讲从经文里面，他要超胜独妙，这个就是说，他希望说特别的殊胜，特别的美妙，然后建立常然，这个就是希望说能够建立这个极乐世界，它是常寂安然的。就是说不变的这样子，独妙的，然后来它不会衰变的，就是衰退，而且无衰无变，就是说不会这个衰退或者是变化的，所以在这个，而且它要在这个不可思议的这个不可想象中的这个造载就是很长的这个时间呢，永劫都是就是很长的这个时光里面呢，来积足菩萨无量的德恨，来积极来种植这个菩萨他所修行的这个德恨，这个菩萨无量德恨，除了他其实他已经做到了，然后后面这个菩萨无量德恨，也可以说给我们去极乐世界的这些菩萨来得到这个无量的德恨，这个都是他所要的。
So he wants this land to be wonderful, beautiful, splendid. You could say exquisite in a very unique way. It's just a wonderful Pure Land. And this Pure Land is eternal. It does not change, it does not decay. It's this kind of very pure and eternal place. And so Amitabha Buddha, as Bhikshu Dharma Treasury, he cultivated for inconceivable countless kalpas. And he cultivated the Bodhisattvas' virtuous practices. And so for all of us who recite the Buddha's name and want to, you could say, tie up affinities with Amitabha Buddha, we you could enter his field of merit and virtue.
像这个一向专制呢，就是只讲这个法藏比丘他的这个开始修行，他这个因地的时候，他算一个因，然后呢，能够得到这个庄严妙土，这个是一个果，这个他修行出来的果，所以这个是他这个果是他一个目标，就是来成就这个庄严的这个妙土。
So he wholeheartedly devoted himself to creating this wonderful Buddha land.
所以呢，他像这个一向呢专制，我们都知道哦，这个目前像一向，我们也常常可以听到一向的这个讲话。这个人一向他都非常用功的，这个人一向他都是非常来专心来听法的，这个都是这样子来讲。像这个一向，这个是非常好用的这个句子。
So this phrase 一向 which kind of means all the time, 就是常常，对不对？意思。
一向他都是这样子。
Yeah, so he's very always hardworking. Somebody might say he's always very focused and diligent in his practice and coming to listen to Sutra lectures. So this is something we say all the time.
还有这个庄严妙土啊，这个是非常重要的。像这个就是讲西方极乐世界的这个庄严，这个庄严是阿弥陀佛，其实也可以讲阿弥陀佛他本身的这个功德庄严。所以在这个讲庄严里面呢，它有可以分两种啦，分两种，一个是讲他的阿弥陀佛他的功德庄严，第一个。第二个呢，就是他的这个善跟美，这个就是像西方极乐世界，它这个都是它国土都非常庄严的，这个非常善、非常美的这个，所以它有这个有两种的意思。
就是善之美。
善美。
善美 ，OK， 善美。So beautiful, okay.
Yeah.
So Amitabha Buddha, as Bhikshu Dharma Treasury, worked very hard to create a beautiful Pure Land, which became the Western Pure Land of utmost happiness. And this came from his cultivation of merit and virtue. And so if we look into the Buddhist terminologies, you can see there's two kinds of merit and virtue. There's one kind of merit and virtue, which is his 功德庄严, the merit and virtue, or two kinds of adornments, sorry, two kinds of adornments, here we go. One kind of adornment is merit and virtue. The second kind of adornment in the Pure Land is that it's extremely beautiful. It's kind of got this san, which just means wholesome or good, and mei is beautiful. So it's got this beauty of goodness, you can maybe say.
所以这个还有在《观无量寿经》里面，他也有提到，因为可以看到其他的像作恶的人，他得到的恶业，然后 以诸恶业而自庄严，这个就是说，看到人家做不好，所以我们自己要做好来，做好自己，要这样子，就会你是这样子的话的，就会说把自己能够做出让自己庄严。所以这个《无量寿经》里面讲以诸恶业而自庄严。这个就是很好的，给我们在学习看到西方极乐世界，来比较我们现在娑婆世界，我们知道娑婆世界那么苦，那么不好，所以我们要去西方极乐世界，那里是非常是庄严的世界，尤其是阿弥陀佛有他无量的这个功德庄严来带我们，来给我们修行成佛，这个是非常重要的。
So in the sutra contemplating immeasurable longevity, there's a description about the Pure Land and how we, as living beings here in samsara, we can see negative karma, people doing things that are unwholesome. But what we can do is actually, by observing this unwholesome actions, we can actually use it to adorn ourselves. What does that mean? That means that we see somebody doing something harmful, and we don't do it ourselves. We learn, that's something I won't do. And by doing that, we actually improve ourselves, and that's kind of like an adornment. And so this is actually a very good Dharma principle, because that way we can learn from everyone, the good and the bad. And when we really look and compare the Western Pure Land with our world, samsara, in the Sopos, the Saha world, we see that our world in samsara is a lot of suffering, a lot of difficulty, whereas the Pure Land is very blissful, it's very beautiful, and it's, like I say, adorned by the merit and virtue of Amitabha Buddha. I just want to make one reflection about the two kinds of merit and virtue, the two kinds of adornments of the Pure Land that Jing Fosher described. So one was the merit and virtue of Amitabha Buddha, and the second was that it was very beautiful. And I think what immediately struck me is that there is an inside and outside, that we cultivate a kind of inner goodness and also manifests as an external outside goodness. And to really look at what's the source of true beauty. And true beauty in the Dharma comes from cultivating merit and virtue. The things we do outside, like we put on makeup, or we put on cologne, or we try to wear beautiful clothing. We can look a little, maybe beautiful. There's a kind of attractiveness, but there isn't a kind of inner radiance. If the external kind of trappings doesn't match the inner purity of heart, then the radiance isn't you could say true. And I think if we really reflect and observe, we feel that in our hearts. The beauty is only literally skin deep, whereas the merit and virtue of the Buddha is something cultivated over countless, immeasurable eons. And so it's completely unimaginable. The beauty is beyond our imagination. 所以看到这两个功德呢，两个庄严呢，马上就想到一个是内心的功德，一个是外表的美光善美。就是说，我们真正的美丽从哪里来呢？从我们善心、清净的心来现出来的。我们可以外表加一点那个make化妆啊，或者喷一些什么花水啊，或者穿什么漂亮的衣服啊，好，可能可以漂亮，但是这个漂亮只是表面上的漂亮。如果我们内心不是真正的清净，但是我们就没有这样真正的心中的光明。佛陀呢，他的光明，他的功德，他的庄严、美丽，是内心发出来的，是从佛性发出来的，是 无量不可思议的劫来修来的，这个是我们可以做一个好的榜样，我们可以来学习。
像我们宣传法师讲的这个，我们内心的庄严呢，它是会发光的。可以看到你这个人做的内心非常的庄严，非常的，它是有光明，它会发光的。那外表的光明，外表的这个美就不一定，就看了很漂亮，但是也不错。但是像内心的这个光明，它才是真正，它会发光，影响别人，它甚至于发光到全世界。像阿弥陀佛，他真的是一讲到阿弥陀佛，大家都可以了解到，非常清净，这样子他还有无量光的。
So our purity of heart has a radiance. It's kind of, when it's adorned, has this radiance that shines outward. The external kinds of trappings that we put on, the beauty that we put on from the outside, is, doesn't look bad, but the kind of true radiance, that kind of radiant quality, is not for sure. And so this inner radiance from our heart can truly influence other people. It can shine on others, and it goes out, and it can actually go throughout the universe, allowing everyone it touches to be transformed. And that's what Amitabha Buddha is able to do. And that's why when we say Amitabha Buddha's name, this, you can say, the power behind it, his light shines on all of us, and it, you can say, purifies our hearts.
好，我们知道天津菩萨的这个他也有提到他的这个净土论啦，净土论里面呢，他讲他观察到这个弥陀的净土呢，它有29种的这个庄严，他观察到，所以这个大家有兴趣可以查一下这个天津菩萨的净土论里面的这个弥陀的净土里面有29种。今天我们也有把它提出来，这个它有分依报跟正报。依报就是依照净土这个气世间的这个清净呢，有17种，依报有17种。那正报就是说，我们众生世间的这些清净所得来的，它有12种正报。所以我们今天也有这个来讲这个他讲的这个29种庄严。
Okay, so we will now study Vasubandhu's Bodhisattva's treatise on rebirth in the Pure Land. And he talks about the Pure Land having 29 different adornments. And he breaks it into 2 areas. One is called Yi Bao, and one's called Zhen Bao. Maybe someone will help translate. Those are technical terms in Buddhism. If I were to literally translate, I think one would be dependent retribution or dependent results, and the other one's the proper results. But I think they have more technical definitions. So the dependent results have 17 kinds, and the proper results have 12 kinds.
这个依报的17种呢，第一种就是它清净庄严，它这个清净庄严呢，它是胜过三界的这个有漏的一些像我们在这个三界，它是算秽土，有漏的秽土，但是在那边它是无漏清净的庄严。
So the first is that it's very pure. It's purer than here in the 3 realms of the desire realm, form realm, and formless realm. In our 3 realms, there's still outflows. There's still, you could say, energy leaks or afflictions that we have. Whereas in Amitabha Buddha's Pure Land, this purity is free of all outflows, completely full, and you don't leak anything.
还有第二种，它的量庄严，它这个量呢，像虚空无边际的，这个弥陀它净土，它这个是没有限量的，所以这个是量庄严。
The second is size. It's adorned in size. And it's, you could say, as vast as empty space. It doesn't have any boundaries. It just goes on boundlessly.
第三个，它的性庄严，性就是大慈大悲，它是无漏的这个善根，它随顺法性升起的净土，所以这个是性庄严。性
okay.
Yeah.
So the third is that it has a nature that is adorned, the adornment of nature. And so it relies on the 正道慈. So it's on the kind of right path, 直大慈悲无漏之善根, that comes from cultivating great kindness and great compassion, non-outflows, these kind of good roots. So these good roots serve as the foundation for the nature of the Pure Land. And somebody helped with the translation of these two areas. So one, the yi bao, it means circumstantial results. These are the circumstances we are born into, such as societal status, geographical location, based on the karma of prior lifetimes. So these are what we're going over right now. And maybe somebody can also help me with zhen bao. Yep.
好，第四个是形象庄严，因为我们这个阿弥陀佛的净土清净呢，它是光明满足，好像明镜一样的，所以这个它的形象呢是非常庄严的。
Okay, maybe just finish the previous one. As I'm looking here, it says, so this is still the number 3, the adornment of the nature. And so this circumstantial result comes from cultivating great kindness and great compassion and these non-outflow good roots, and accords with the Dharma nature. And from here, this is where the Pure Land arises. It comes from this very pure place and the Dharma nature. Then it also has number 4, the appearance is the adornment of the form, and this form is extremely, the Pure Land is extremely pure. Qingjing, it's got a kind of radiance. It's completely perfect. Manju, it's like the Ru Ming Jing. It's like the radiant mirror or a sun and moon disc. You know, like the kind of wheel, maybe a disc. So it's just got this tremendous kind of radiance and fullness that we can imagine from when there's a kind of I believe this is probably referring to the meditation method that's given in the Visuddhimagga, where you actually meditate on a disc and it becomes limitless and boundless. That would be my guess. But you can just imagine the sun and moon, the radiance. And the Pure Land has that kind of radiance.
第5种呢，它是种种事庄严，事就是说它极乐世界里面呢，它有各种的珍宝，都是非常具足，这样子的庄严，种种的事 ，yeah.
So there.
第5种 ，yeah.
So the 5th is that there's many different kinds of activities that are adorning. 所以
它就是里面有种种的这个珠宝啊，这样子记住这个的庄严，它是有种种。
这个跟事
啊，种种的事。
事是什么东西？
事
不是事情，做事情的不是这个事。
不是，事就是表示这一些 祭祖这个珍珠啊，
and
它里
treasures,
面都
okay.
是什么东西，你要什么
Oh,
东西
different
就
things.
有 yeah.
So it has a variety. It's the adornment of a variety of things.
各种
So if I'm able to compare it, maybe it's going to Amazon and you can go and get a variety of things. But here in the Pure Land, the variety of things isn't kind of all the different things you can buy online. It's actually these very precious treasures, all the jewels and wonderful things that are completely replete. This Pure Land is complete with these variety of wonderful things.
第6个就是妙色光颜，这个妙色色就是说它这个是颜色啦、光焰啦，非常的明净啊，这些比世间上的这个都是来比不上的，世间比不上的，所以它这个有妙色庄严。
So number 6 is that it's a wonderful in color. It just kind of radiance, and nothing in this world can compare to it. It's just a beautiful color.
第7个触庄严，触就是接触你手碰它的这个触啊，触庄严，因为它有它那边的所有的珍宝，这一些所有的珠宝，这些都是非常柔软的，你一触就非常的感觉非常的非常不错的，这个不是碰的冷冷冰冰的，不是的，也触庄严。
So number 7 is that there's a adornment of the kind of touch, tactile sensation. And so when you're in Amitabha Buddha's Pure Land and you touch all these treasures and wonderful things, in fact, they're not cold and hard. They're actually very soft and kind of pleasurable to touch. When you touch it, it just feels very smooth and a kind of a very soft and gentle, flexible feeling in terms of touch.
还有这个西方极乐世界呢，它会产生三个水上、地上还有虚空。你知道我们它有8功德水嘛？水上、地上，它所有的地上都是非常庄严柔果这些，还有虚空也是一样的，都是充满着这个庄严的这个事情，所以这个有3种庄严。
So number 8 is that there's 3 places that there's adornments. There's in the water, the land, and the air, you could say. And so we know that the water has 8 meritorious virtues. The land has also covered with many treasures and adornments. And even the air, kind of the space in the Pure Land is adorned.
第9个就是它这个西方极乐世界，它以庄严，它以就是说，它可以像下雨宝衣，它可以下很多宝衣给你，还有宝花给你，还有所有的这些宝衣宝香呢，它都是非常新妙香的，都是普心妙香的这一些，所以它是可以以就是等于下注的这个庄严。
So number 9 is that in the Pure Land there's a rain that is very adorned. And this rain rains down wonderful treasures, clothings, jewels, flowers, all these wonderful incense that then can pervade, their incense, the kind of fragrance can then permeate everywhere with a beautiful, wonderful scent. So you can see that that's another
第9个
another adornment.
还有第10个呢，它是光明庄严，就是说佛的智慧呢，就是当然是讲阿弥陀佛的智慧，它非常清净，它能够辞掉我们世间的这些愚痴的这个，所以它也有这样的光明庄严。
So he also has a radiant adornment. And Amitabha Buddha's wisdom is extremely pure. He has no ignorance. So it's just wonderful radiance.
好，11个是妙声庄严，在那边极乐世界里面的妙声，它非常森严，有各种的这个声都是在讲法，都是给人家开悟的，所以它这个，而且它这个可以散播呢，这个你散播到十方世界去。
So the sound is also is an adornment. And so the sound reminds people of the Dharma, is speaking the Dharma, is very far-reaching, and when people hear it, they wake up, and it can go all over the world throughout the 10 directions.
好，12个呢，主庄严，主就是阿弥陀佛啦，它本身呢，它是这个觉正境的这个算阿弥陀佛是大法王。所以他这个的这个主是非常讲起来就是阿弥陀佛庄严。
So number 12 is that the host of the Pure Land is extremely adorned. And the host is who? Is Amitabha Buddha. So Amitabha Buddha is the great Dharma king, and he is, an adornment there in the Pure Land.
13个就是见属，去升到那里去，都是化身的。这些眷属呢，不管是人民啦、菩萨啊，是未来都是佛，都是如来，所以这个都是化身的，这个都是这个就是讲去到那里的眷属庄严。
You could say the followers or those in the assembly are also an adornment. They're all great Bodhisattvas, getting reborn in the Pure Land in transformation bodies that will in the future become Buddhas. So they are very, also very wonderful and beautiful.
第14个就是受用庄严，去到那里都是大乘的法位，禅位都是大乘的，三昧位，这个都是去到那里的人都是非常受用的，所以有受用庄严。
So number 14 is that there's whatever you do in that land is got a lot of use. You could say it's meaningful, has purpose. So this is the adornment of purpose. And so what does that mean? This is that the purpose of what's going on there is the great Mahayana dharmas, the flavor of Chan, the flavor of the samadhi. That's the flavor of there. So everything you're doing has a purpose, is on the path to liberation.
第15个很重要的，无诸难庄严，去到那里没有三恶道，都是身心没有烦恼，都是受乐没有间断的，所以是极乐世界嘛，所以那里是无诸难庄严。
Number 15 is that there's no difficulties in the Pure Land. It's always your heart and your minds are always free of worries and suffering. You just abide in kind of a real happiness that's not unceasing. It's kind of you're just having real happiness.
第16个就是大义门庄严，因为去到那里的都是大乘善根的人，然后那里也没有女人，而且也没有说六根不具的，所以就是算是一个大义门庄严。
The next one is the doorway to the great meaning adornment. So there, 净土 is the all about the great vehicle dharmas. So 大乘善根觉一切平等，心净无哇。 There's a lot in this one line. So here there's just this Mahayana good roots.
大善根的人啊，
All these kinds of people who have really good roots,
嗯
and they have this place of equanimity and purity
嗯
of heart. And there's no woman.
或者
There's
是六根不具
also
的
all
都
the
是
one's 6 faculties are complete.
也，再来17个，就是说你所求的都可以满足，所以这个就是所求满足庄严。你要求什么都那边都可以有。Yeah.
So number 17 is everything is fulfilled as you wish. So you wish for something and it comes.
好，这个就是依报的。那正报呢，它有12种。它这个正报12种呢，它佛有8种，然后菩萨有4种。
So now we're going to move to the other kind of a response, a reward, and somebody helped translate it as direct reward. And so we will, I think this is what the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas directly have as part of their reward. The first one was maybe more the environmental results, and this is more the direct results. I think it's probably going to be their bodies and what's going on in the body. And so these are how many? 多少个？
有12个。
总共有 total of 12.
Yeah.
And so with the
佛有
Buddha
8
has
种。
8 types, and the Bodhisattvas have 4 kinds of adornments.
那这个佛的8种呢，第一个它是坐庄严，就是说他佛，因为他已经成佛了嘛，所以他就是有无量的这个大宝王车，这个净花台，所以他这个他的坐台啦，就是他坐的地方非常庄严。
So the first one for the Buddha is that the place he sits
Yeah.
is extremely adorned. It's limitless jewels, wonderful jewels that are wonderful, and it's very pure and kind of
净花台
it's kind of you say flowers, but it's kind of like the flowers here, right? Very beautiful. So he sits on this throne and that's extremely adorned, and so this is the first adornment for the Buddha.
第二个就是他的身业庄严，他是向好之光的依循，他的这个形象色相呢是超情身的，所以他这个身呢，因为他成佛，他本身的这个身业都是非常清净光明庄严的。Yeah.
So the second is that his body karma is pure, and that's another kind of adornment. So he has the hallmarks, and his body is, you could say, far surpasses the appearance of anything of the many living types of living beings. It's a very adorned body.
第三个就是口业庄严，就是说他如来就是佛嘛，他讲出了微妙的这个响声呢，都是响彻十方，他这个算口业庄严。
So number 3 is that his mouth karma is very pure, and that's another adornment. So what he with his kind of sound, the Tathagata or the Buddha's kind of subtle and wonderful sound is very pure when you hear it, and it can be heard in all the 10 directions.
然后这个第4个就是他心业庄严，他的心呢，他是没有分别的，所以他跟地水火风都是一样的，所以他的心业庄严。
So number 4 is that his mind karma is another adornment, very pure. He's, you could say, able to be the same as the earth, the water, the fire, the wind, and empty space. So he does not have any kind of discrimination or kind of, you could say, attachment, right? His mind is impartial.
第五个就是大众庄严，因为它是在这个人天圣众的这个成就大乘善根如来清净的这个智海里面，所以它是大众庄严。
So this one is that the adornment of having a great assembly, and so so he has a great assembly of the devas, the humans, sagely assembly, and he's basically completed all of these. So his Mahayana good roots are all pure, and Qingjing Zhi Hai are Sen, and this all comes from his pure wisdom. So he has a kind of a great following, you could say, that comes from his great wisdom.
第六个是上首庄严，这个就是讲阿弥陀佛，他是为净土，他在净土里面是上首最主要的一个算导师嘛，所以他比须弥山王圣庙都他是算上首的这个庄严。
So the next one is a kind of the host. Again, this is the adornment of the host. And number 7, and he says Amitabha Buddha is the teaching, guiding master of this Pure Land. He teaches gods and humans and teaches many living beings. And so here he is the 7th adornment.
这个是第六了，上首。
Oh, whoops! Sorry, I read the wrong one. So he's the foremost leader. He's the number 1. And so this one, Amitabha Buddha, is Pure Land Jingtu Sang's. He's the kind of the foremost leader of the Pure Land, and so because of that, he is like the Sumeru Mountain, Mount Sumeru King. The wonder of Mount Sumeru, he actually surpasses this. He surpasses the wonder of the king of Mount Sumeru.
第7个呢，就是主庄严，主就是当然是阿弥陀佛啦，他是那边的教主，西方极乐世界教主，天人师的这些都是的非常敬仰的人，他算第7个主庄严。
So 7 is that he's the host, the kind of adornment of the host, and so Amitabha Buddha is is the guiding master of the humans and gods, and teaches all those beings there, and so they all really deeply admire him. So he's another adornment.
第8个不惜做庄严，就是那边他是他的本愿力。他不需要来在那里做虚假的这一些，他都这样子来表达出来他的这个功德海，所以他是不惜做庄严。
So he doesn't have to have anything fake. His everything there is true and authentic and genuine, and that's an adornment. And his ultimate vows, his fundamental vows, are completely reliable. They're not kind of false in any way. And so by relying on him, no effort is wasted. So he's able to truly fulfill all the wondrous merit and virtue, like a great ocean of treasures.
好，这个就是佛的这个8种功德这个，然后再讲功德庄严。另外就是讲菩萨的另外4种庄严呢。第一个就是说，他不动本事，他能够遍知到十方来供养化身的庄严。所以这个菩萨呢， 他在极乐世界菩萨，他可以到处到十方世界去做这些供养的事情。
So the Bodhisattvas' adornments are that they don't have to kind of move, they're like completely still, but they're able to go even within their stillness to throughout the 10 directions to make offerings. With their 供养化身, transforming bodies to make offerings everywhere. So that's one adornment. So it talks about that in our sutra text about how the beings in Amitabha Buddha's land can go make offerings to Buddhas of the 10 directions.
第二个就是说他的念啊，一念呢，他就遍知到这个过这个佛会的这个来利益众生这个庄严。
So in one thought, is one moment, they're able to 遍知佛会. They're able to pervade the Buddha's assembly to be able to be of benefit to living beings. They're able to, I think they're like the influential assembly, like the audience. 就是他们来听法，或者来跟佛陀一起，对不对？佛法会的时候。
他一念呢，他也可以去啦。
Yeah. So one thought they can go to join the
Yeah.
Buddha's Dharma assembly, where he benefits living beings. So they can travel anywhere. It's like you want to come to Berkeley Buddhist Monastery, and one thought, you can show up.
Yeah.
In your case, you're probably clicking a button on your computer screen and opening up the YouTube video or the Zoom video, and you're watching that way. So in one thought and one click, you can come.
Yeah. 还有第三个呢，这个菩萨呢，他可以去一切世界的地方来赞叹诸佛庄严，就是他可以去到所有的这个赞叹这个佛的这个庄严。
So another adornment of the Bodhisattva is that they are able to go everywhere throughout the 10 directions to praise the Buddha.
第四个呢，就是甚至于他可以到没有三宝的地方去来示法庄严，来讲佛法各方面的这个庄严。
So another fourth one is that they can go to places that do not have the 3 jewels, the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, and they can share the Dharma there.
好，我们就是这样子，把这个天津菩萨这个庄严讲完了，我们后面继续来讲经文。我们的经文就是要进入到建立常然，因为它这个就是我们的这个法藏比丘，他首要能够来建立一个常然，就是说它这个是常态的，它不会变的，无衰无变的，不会变更的，不可思议的这个一个极乐世界。所以我们来讲一下这个常然的这个事情。
Okay, so now we finished Vasubandhu Bodhisattva's treatise on being reborn in the Pure Land, and so we'll move to the next section in the sutra. So I want to give a little bit of maybe explanations. So one was referred to as the Yi Bao, which is, you could say, circumstantial results. And one was called the Zhen Bao, which here is translated as direct results. I think we can think about this way. The circumstantial results are, you could say, the environment of the Pure Land. And then the direct results are, you could say, the kind of embodiment of the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, their results. And so the Buddha's mouth, mind, and body of karma are completely pure. And it's interesting enough, they include the assembly and the throne even as part of the direct results. And the Bodhisattvas have the ability to go to many places, to be able to make offerings, to go to places without the 3 jewels to teach the Dharma. So that's their direct response. I just think just to maybe make this particular section relevant for us, that I think it's not a bad thing to just go through the list and kind of visualize what the Pure Land would be like. It's a place that, is very beautiful. There's no pain and suffering. It's not a place that we would go and get hurt, right? Even here, when there's something beautiful like a diamond, you can cut yourself on the diamond if it's, cut in a bad way and it's sharp, and you just touch it and it can cut you, right? And so there's many things in our world that are attractive, but can actually lead to a lot of pain and suffering. And in fact, rather than having the treasures of for instance, like the Pure Land, where the treasures actually lead you to the Dharma, oftentimes the treasures in our world, in the Saha world, lead us to greed and wars. Where people actually go and kill each other over money, over gold, over valuables, over resources. And that's the nature of our world. Whereas in Amitabha Buddha's Pure Land, all of that violence, all of that hate, all of that greediness doesn't exist. And so this list of qualities that Vasubandhu Bodhisattva gave us, I think is actually a very interesting list to reflect on, because it gives us a sense of what the Pure Land could be like. And it gives us also a perspective on what in our world is, you could say, not so pure. Not so pure. Of course, there's also the teachings in the Chan school where the Pure Land is the pure heart. But at the same time, there's also teachings that the Pure Land is a place that we can actually go when we die. And so I just wanted to point that out. 这讲了这个几个20几个嘛，27个，好像29个，29个这个庄严，29个庄严。我想这个可以让我们很好的一个方式来描述极乐世界是怎么样的。但我们可以去观想这个地方没有山土啊，常常会听到佛法，佛的样子是怎么样的，菩萨的样子是怎么样的。我们就有一点点这个概念啊，极乐世界是这样的一个地方，比我们娑婆世界很多地方好很多。我们娑婆世界很多痛苦，甚至于我们这个宝啊，我们这个像一个金钱啊等等啊，我们娑婆世界怎么样呢？不是让教佛法，很多时候这个金宝啊会让人起贪心，甚至于大家都会打仗，想要多点钱啊，多点东西啊，等等等等。所以我们这个娑婆世界很多时候可以说是走的方向是迷的，走的方向是迷的。所以这个极乐世界的庄严呢，是一个地方大家都不迷的，大家都是往正道来修行的，来成佛，来真正利益一切众生，这个往当方向，所以这个是非常难得的。好
，OK， 这个上面我们讲到常染啊，这个常染就是说它这个是常态自然的性，这个就是常染的意思。这个也是在极乐世界华藏比丘他首要的一个方式的这个自然性的一个常态，而且都是不衰，不那个变的这个，都是能够保持这样子的一个世界国度，所以这个是他首要的。
你说常然是自然出现的意思是这样子？
对，他要这个常然的意思呢，就是说自然之性呢，就是是常态的，能够保持
很久的。
一向都是这样子。
Okay, so I think it's the right translation. So the next line that Jing Fosher is explaining is that the land he built would last forever and never decay or change. Teaching force was just defining that term, that this land will last forever. 苍蓝。
Yeah. 所以这个一个，然后后面他再继续讲这个，在不可思议的这个造宅，这个造宅就是讲时间呐、非常久的这个，时光里面，不可思议就是说不可以，我们想象不到的，因为佛的这个智慧。佛的这个神通，我们都是没有办法来想象的，不来跟他思考的这样子。
So here in the next line it talks about how Bhikshu Dharma Treasury cultivated the Bodhisattva practices for inconceivable countless kalpas. A kalpa is a very, very long time. Sometimes it's also translated as eons. And so he had countless eons, countless kalpas, and inconceivably countless kalpas. So if you imagine, it's actually this is literally unimaginable. So the kalpas that he cultivated in are beyond our imagination. Our mind cannot hold it.
所以这个就是说他是所表达出来他所要的这个极乐世界的一个因为他在这个没有不可思议的这个时间里面来修行，来种植这个他的这个功德，在造宅永劫种植无量德恨这个菩萨。来，这菩萨当然就是讲，我们的法藏比丘，他那时候他是讲说，因为他来做这些修行，永劫，造宅的永劫的时间来积极的来种植他的这个。菩萨的这个德恨，所以这个是但是现在我们知道他已经成佛了嘛，西方极乐世界已经成就了，所以这个也是他已经完成他的这个无量这个德恨的。
So he cultivated for countless eons the immeasurable virtuous practices of a bodhisattva. So he worked really hard in his practice, and as we know, Amitabha Buddha has already become Amitabha Buddha. So, but to become Amitabha Buddha, he cultivate for a very, very long time. I think maybe just to point out here, this is a particular spirit of Amitabha Buddha, which is a vigor, right? Not stopping. I think this is a quality that's very important in our spiritual practice. In the monastery or as a layperson or just even starting the Dharma. There's a popular saying is that when we just start the Dharma, the Buddha is right before our eyes. A few years later, the Buddha becomes far away. And then after 10 years, the Buddha is no longer there to be seen. It's completely left our hearts and we just get caught up in our own mundane activities. But Amitabha Buddha is not like that. He starts off on this Bodhisattva path. And every moment, he's as true as can be. He doesn't get bored with the Dharma. He doesn't get doubtful and give up on himself. Rather, he just keeps persevering, step by step, step by step, step by step, which allows him to become Amitabha Buddha. And so as those of us who also want to cultivate, I think he's a very good role model. That we don't want to be in a situation where we go, I think I'm really going to retreat now. I think I'm just going to give up my practices, go back to just living my life like everyone else, go back to eating meat, so on and so forth. You can fill in your own blank. But to actually say, no, what we're going to do is we're going to keep going, regardless of the circumstances. We're not going to retreat in our fundamental vows. And we might need to adjust what we're doing to make it as appropriate to the context of what's arising. But in our deepest aspirations to become Buddhas, at that place we don't change. We don't retreat at all. We're just untiring in our efforts to improve or to transform ourselves. 所以这个阿弥陀佛呢，我觉得非常特别的，就是法藏比丘特别是这样子的这个很精进的精神。这个精进不是他说用功很强，反而是说他用功是长远的来用功，非常长的时间，他就把他的心在这个修行上面走。我想有一句好像是说，修行2年，佛在眼前；修行10年，
佛在天边，
佛在天边。修行什么还有更多了，就我觉得已经不见了。对，所以我们就是说，我们开始学佛，有时很精进啊，一开始，但是过了几年啊，就开始我不知道我真的有没有对我生活有没有帮助啊？好像我还会发脾气啊，然后还本来要觉得我会很多什么成就啊，佛会来加持我啊，给我很多东西啊，但是好像没有这些特别东西啊，就开始怀疑了。我们这个修行就不是长远的这个精神来修行，所以我们修行呢，这个是要长远的。因为我们真正要成就呢，真正要修行成就呢，不是1天2天的事情，不是1年2年的事情，也不是一生命2生命的事情，也不是1劫2劫的事情。这个是像阿弥陀佛无量不可思议的这个劫来修行，这样子的这个精神来修行。我们就想就是学阿弥陀佛的榜样。这个是说我们不会就是放弃，不会就说我这个太累了太多了我就放弃了，反正说不管多少，我知道这是正确的方向来走，我就好好的一步一步来走这个方向，我不用担心未来我什么时候会有成就呢？这个就我们完全都放下，我们就一步一步的诚心的来种正因。那我们知道种正因就会有正果，我们就不用害怕，我们就每一分每一秒就好好的种正因。好
，Yeah， 所以这个在讲这个经文呢，不可思议这个这个我想我们来举一个这个不可思议品呐，就是维摩诘经里面呢，有一品，它第6品叫做不思议品，就是不可思议品，这个来跟大家来讲他这个故事 ，Yeah。
So I want to share a story from the Vimalakirti Sutra. This is from the 6th chapter called Inconceivable.
Yeah， 这个我们知道这个维摩诘他生病了，然后佛要大家去关心他，去探病啊，但是大家都不敢去，大家都害怕，因为几乎大家都给维摩诘都给他教训过，所以大家不敢去。他最后就是大家不敢去，就变成说那好，大家一起去，所以就带队去了，就这样子。然后去的时候呢，这个舍利弗，他看到维摩诘这个房子里面呢，怎么没有座位啊？而且房子里面那么小，然后我们又那么多的菩萨来，还有这些大弟子都来，然后要坐在哪里呢？他这样子的这个舍利弗他这样子想，那他一想呢，这个维摩诘居士呢，他就知道他在想什么了。
So what is the Vimalakirti Sutra? Well, it's about a layman named Vimalakirti who is profoundly awakened. And so he falls sick. Vimalakirti becomes sick. And so there's a discussion among the disciples, and also with the Buddha, that who's going to visit Vimalakirti? And all the disciples, one by one, say, no, I don't think it'd be good for me to go, because when I was going to, talking to Vilmakirti the other day, and I said this about something, he actually completely turned my understanding upside down, and it was kind of embarrassing, so I think maybe if you send somebody else, please, that'd be better. I don't think I'm quite up for it. And then it kept going like this until all the way it got to Manchuria Bodhisattva. Manchuria Bodhisattva was foremost in wisdom, so he has no problem seeing Vilmakirti. So off he goes to see Vilmakirti. And I believe that's the point where in all the rest of the assembly, though, oh, we're interested too. We want to see what happens, because they're, it's kind of like I would say, in a kind of more kind of mundane example, it would be like when somebody shows up, and let's say it's like a basketball. I'll use basketball as an example. So you're with a group of people and you're playing basketball, and then somebody really good shows up, like Michael Jordan, and somebody says, okay, we're gonna play one-on-one with Michael Jordan. Who wants to play? And you go, well, that's Michael Jordan. I'm not gonna play one-on-one with Michael Jordan. He's gonna completely school me, right? He's gonna embarrass me, because I can probably not even get a shot off, and it's gonna be very embarrassing. So I'm not up for it. Finally, it gets to probably what would be a match for him. I don't what's his name now? Stephen Covey, I think, is the right name. The kind of the State Warriors, right? So he goes, okay, yeah, I can go see him, and everyone's, oh wow, Michael Jordan's gonna be playing one-on-one with Stephen. Is it Stephen Covey? Oh, sorry, I don't watch basketball now, but everyone's just really excited. So they kind of tag along, wanting to see, what's the interchange going to be. So when they get to Vilmakirti's place, what Shariputra notices is that there's nothing in the room. It's empty. And it's a very small room. And so he thinks to himself, there's not really that much room here, and there's no place to sit down. What are we going to do? We have so many people. So at that moment, when he had that thought, Vilmakirti knew it. And so he talked to Venerable Shariputra.
那他就这个跟舍利弗问说：“你是仁者，你是为法来，或者是为这个座位来呢？”然后舍利弗就是：“当然是我是为法来，不是为座位来的。”
So Vimakirti tells Venerable Shariputra, "Oh, Venerable One, when you came here, were you coming here for the Dharma, or were you coming here to find a place to sit?" And Venerable Shariputra, I forgot, was a little bit embarrassed, says, "I was here for the Dharma. I wasn't here to find a place to sit."
所以这个当时维摩诘就跟他讲啊，对，你是对的，舍利弗啊，你是要来求法来的，所以你不要去贪这个你生命的这样子，不要贪这个座位的，所以就跟这个舍利弗跟他讲了这个。
So Vimakirti's response to him was, "Good, yes, you're here to learn the Dharma. Great. So let go of the body and let go of the greed for finding a place to sit."
所以这个中间跟他讲了很多的这个求法的事情，我们不谈。我们在谈这个只要是后来他这个维摩诘他问了这个文殊师利，因为他也是去的，文殊师利带队去，然后他这个他问这个文殊师利菩萨呢，他说：“你知道这个所有的这个哪一个的佛徒呢？他的这个座位呢，有妙好的这个功德成就狮子之座，是哪一个佛度的这个哪一个佛有这样子好的座位？他要把这个座位搬来这里。”
So so then they have a long exchange between Venerable Shariputra and Vimalkirti about finding a place to sit, and finally, and also about requesting the Dharma. And so later, after this conversation about requesting the Dharma, Vimalkirti talks with Manchuria Bodhisattva and asks Manchuria Bodhisattva, looking at all the Buddha's Pure Lands, do you see a Pure Land where the seats are extremely fine and splendid, where this kind of throne that's just very, very adorned? If you look at all the Buddha lands, which one is the most adorned seats? Maybe we can move some over here. So he's asking Manchuria Bodhisattva.
所以这时候文殊师利菩萨他就来答复这个维摩诘居士呢，他说啊，东方啊，他36恒河沙国啊，有世界名须弥香，那须弥香，他这个佛号呢，须弥灯王，现在都还在的。这个他的狮子的这个座位呢，它有84000由行，而且它是算第一的，第一好的，颜是第一的。Yeah.
So Manjushri responded back to Vimalkirti, saying, "Okay, in the east there's a there's a lot of numbers here. Dongfang du 36
恒河沙国，他讲这个方向了。
going over 36 Ganges sands of sand. If you were to travel that far, over all these different countries and worlds, you'll be able to. There's a world called Sumeru Appearance. Sumeru Appearance. A world that's called Sumeru Appearance. And this Buddha's name is Sumeru Lamp King.
Yeah.
And right now, this Buddha has a life span. His size is 84,000 yojanas in height. And his lion seat, his throne, is very big, and it's 84,000 miles in height. So this is the most adorned seat. Is the most beautiful seat.
所以呢，这个维摩诘他听了以后呢，他就显神通啊，然后把这个佛，然后这个佛的这个座位呢，32000个狮子座呢，然后全部都移来这个维摩诘的这个房间里面。
他也把佛带来啊。
比佛前呐，这个时候比佛前，就是没有佛没有来，他就是把送了这个32000个狮子座过来。
So then Vimalkirti Bodhisattva uses spiritual powers and received the 32,000 seats. These thrones, you could say, they're all very wonderful and fine, and pure. And he brought them all over to where they were, into his room. These 32,000 magnificent, huge thrones.
所以这个进来这个维摩诘寺房间里面呢，所有的菩萨还有佛的大弟子啦，然后四梵、四天王等所有的都没有看过这样子，这样子他的这个房间能那么广大，这个维摩诘世间方那么广大，能够包容这个32000个狮子的这个座位，都没有妨碍。
So he then moved all these 32,000 lion seats, these thrones, into his room. And everyone then had a seat. All the Buddha's disciples, all the Bodhisattvas, the 4 heavenly kings, all of them had a seat. And his room had expanded to be extremely big to fit in all these thrones and everybody. And this was really inconceivable. People had not seen this before.
所以这个就是来了以后呢，那个维摩诘居士就跟文殊师利讲，请各位来就坐，所以诸菩萨就希望说能够来上去这个座位坐，然后呢，这个所以这个当时这个很多的神通菩萨呢，他就变了，他能够变的这个菩萨就全部有能力的就变42000个游行，就坐在这个狮子座上面。
So Vimakirti then told Manchuria Bodhisattva and all those who gathered, say, "Oh, we have chairs now. Everyone, please take your seat." And so the Bodhisattvas who had spiritual powers, they transformed themselves into the size of 42,000 yojanas, and then they all took their seat.
然后呢，一些新的这些新发育的这些菩萨，还有大弟子呢，他们都没有办法坐上去那么高的这个座位，所以维觉摩就跟舍利弗也是跟他讲说，请就位，就是说都已经有座位了，你就坐吧。然后舍利弗说，居士啊，这些高广的这个我不能够，我爬不上去坐。
So all these kind of more experienced bodhisattvas could transform themselves to sit on these thrones. But the newer bodhisattvas, the younger bodhisattvas, and also the great disciples, who are like the arhats, they did not have this ability. Rather, the chairs are just too big, too vast. And so Vimakirti told Shariputra, "Oh, take your seat. Why don't you take your seat?" Shariputra responded back, "Oh, Vimakirti, I can't climb onto those seats. They're too big for me."
然后维觉摩居士就跟他说：“舍利弗啊，你跟这个须弥灯王如来跟他敬礼，跟他礼拜，这样子你就可以坐上去。所以这些弟子发育菩萨，新发育菩萨的，就这些呢，都是来跟须弥灯王来跟他做礼拜。” 所以大家都坐上了这个狮子座。
So Vimakirti Bodhisattva told Venerable Shariputra, "No problem. You just need to pay your respect to the royal Sumeru lamp, Buddha. If you do that, then he can help you." So so Venerable Shariputra in the Great Assembly, they bowed to this royal Sumeru Buddha. And because of that, they transformed and could be on the thrones.
所以这个舍利弗当下他就跟这个维摩诘居士讲说，哇，这个是没有过的事情啊！这样子一个小的这个房间呢，就能够容下这样子多的这个高广的这个座位呢，真的是没有过这样子，而且所有能够容下这一些阎浮提的聚落啊，这一些就阎浮提就是我们这边嘛，然后这个四天下了诸天龙王这些鬼神宫殿全部都可以放下去，都没有觉得急迫的事情。
So Vimakirti, or Venerable Shariputra, then spoke to Vimakirti, saying, "Wow, I've never seen anything like this before. You have such a small room, but you could fit so many vast, huge seats. This is really inconceivable." And even then, not just the seats, you can actually have so many different living beings from Jambudvipa. You have the humans, you have the spirits, you have the gods with all their palaces, all these different kinds of living beings, you bring them into this place, which is so small. And I've never seen anything like this before.
所以这个维摩诘居士就跟舍利佛讲啊，这个诸佛菩萨呢有解脱名不可思议，他诸佛菩萨，这个菩萨当然是要有不是新的菩萨，是有相当的，我所记得是要七地以上，七地以上的这个菩萨，才有这个具有这个不可思议解脱的这个能力。所以这个菩萨住这个解脱的时候呢，他像这个须弥山的这个高广啊，它都能够放在一个戒指里面。一个你知道我们的戒指就是很小的这个芝麻的戒指，这个之中啊，都是没有什么不可以，须弥山都可以放进去的。
So then Vimalkirti, this layman, tells Venerable Shariputra, he says, all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, they have a liberation that's called inconceivable. So we're from the inconceivable. If the Bodhisattvas can really abide in this liberation, then it's like the great vastness, the height of Mount Sumeru. And you can put this Mount Sumeru in just a small little container, something very small, maybe like the size of a mustard seed, and there won't be any difficulties. The Shumi San Wang Ben Xiang Ru Shi. So this is Fo Ma, Shumi San Wang. So the Buddha Sumeru Royal Mountain King is just like this. His 就是说他这个须弥王山王是佛，对不对？
不是，他是须弥山王。
The king of Mount Sumeru is 本相啊。
他的意思是说，他都是可以把它放进去这个小的这个。
It's able to put everything in this little small thing. And
一样的。
So he could put everything in.
像四天王啊，忉利诸天啊。
So like 4 heavenly kings, the Tushita heaven.
不知不觉都已经
all living
进
beings
去了
who don't know what's going on, all of them can just put in immediately.
所以他就是说，这个须弥山能入一个戒指呢，这个就是不可思议解脱法门。这个是一个法门嘛。
So you can put Mount Sumeru in a kind of mustard seed, and this is really the inconceivable Dharma method.
这个当然后面这个经文还很多啦。他说像一个解脱菩萨呢，他可以把这个地球把它转，然后放在手里面，然后转来转去这样子。这个后面的经文非常精彩，我想我们时间差不多，我们等下次我们再来讲他这个非常不可思议的事情。
So later he describes the Bodhisattvas who are able to take these world systems and kind of like almost juggle it in their hands. And it's actually very exciting to see all the different ways of inconceivableness. And so maybe we will continue next time to explore this. 好。So maybe we can make some announcements. So today we have our regular Dharma schedules going on. Marty Verhoeven has canceled or postponed his Friday night lectures for the summer. And so that'll begin again probably in September. I think maybe just as people can pay note to, I think we've been starting to get people's inquiries about opening up the monastery. So we'll begin to think about that and see maybe people can start coming at some point. I know that June 15th is a kind of important day as people begin to go outside and kind of not limited by the number of gatherings as long as you're vaccinated. So I think just wanted to mention that. 你们还有什么吗？没有就这样子，没有特别的。Nothing really that different. So yeah, wish everyone can join us for just our regular daily practices. So 我们今天讲完我们就是说我们在 Berkeley 的活动呢还是蛮多的，早上到晚上都可以一起来念佛啊，或者早课晚课啊。我们现在的课现在要开始暑假的时候就没有继续，那我们就下个学期可能9月之中就会再开始。好，那我们先来回向功德了。
Yeah, okay.
We can do the dedication of merit. So here I invite everyone to maybe imagine somebody or something you deeply care about. And you can imagine the merit and virtue going to really care for and support that person, or naturally care for and transform whatever we wish for the better. Okay?
Yeah, okay. 好。
May every living being, our mind as one and radiant with light, share the fruits of peace with hearts of goodness, luminous and bright. If people hear and see how hands and hearts can find in giving unity, may our minds awake to great compassion, wisdom, and to joy. May kindness find reward. May all who sorrow leave their grief and pain. May this boundless light dispel the darkness of our endless night. Because our hearts are one, this world of pain turns into paradise. May all become compassionate and wise. May all become compassionate and wise. 3 bows. Bow in respect to the Venerable Master. Okay, so that concludes our evening Sutra lecture. Wish everyone a good rest of the evening or rest of the day, depending on where you are around the world. And hope you can join us next week as we continue to investigate Amitabha Buddha's past, life as Bhikshu Dharma Treasury. 好，大家晚安，阿弥陀佛。
祝大家平安吉祥，阿弥陀佛。